Thanks.
You can click this. Now there's moving forward, but if you want to get out of there, you just hit the exit.
Yeah, except I do want to look at all the other ones.
So yeah, you can just probably just keep clicking that.
All right, I'd like to welcome you to the March meeting of the Merrimack Valley School Board. The March meeting is the organizational meeting. Therefore, that's why you have me on the microphone, getting things started here. Welcome to all of our new board members. Thank you very much for serving. Certainly appreciate you stepping up, and congratulations in your respective races. So I'd like to start with the pledge. Nick, could you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So that you don't have to hear me talk any longer than you would like to, I'd like to take this time to accept a motion to elect a chair for the Merrimack Valley School Board.
I'd like to nominate Tracy Bricky for the chair of the Merrimack Valley School Board.
All right, motion has been made
I'll second.
for Tracy. Dan, second. Any others? Tom?
Do we nominate one at a time and vote, or how do we do it?
I know if there's other people who are interested, then we'd, if they were nominated and second, then we would see if there's more than one person.
Can I ask a question
Sure.
to Melissa, who made that first nomination? Can I ask what qualifications or the reason, your rationale for that?
Tracy has been a member of the board for a very long time, and this is only her second opportunity. She was a board chair last year for the first time, and there, as with any position, there's a learning curve. And I do think that she deserves an opportunity to continue refining that skill.
Okay. Any others? Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of Tracy as the board chair, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
One abstention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Melissa. Now I'd like to take nominations for vice chair, please.
I will nominate Melissa,
Second.
if you don't mind.
No, I'd be happy to continue in this role.
Thank you. Anybody else for vice chair? All those in favor of Melissa as vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okey doke. So the next is the appointment of the clerk, the treasurer, and an alternate signer. The clerk is Kristen Bean Warren, who does a spectacular job. Our treasurer, Louise Dupre, she also does a great job. And the alternate signer is Katie Keyser, who is like the person of all. She does everything. So I would like to, could you have a motion to nominate the slate for clerk, treasurer, and alternate signer?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Sally, moved by Sally, seconded by Jess. Any discussion? Okay, thanks. All those in favor of the slate of officers, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okey doke. The minutes of the previous meeting, there were 3 previous meetings: February 3rd, the school board meeting, February 4th, the public hearing, and then February 4th, the reconvened school board meeting. If you remember, February 3rd, the school board meeting, we adjourned the school board meeting till after the public hearing. Then once the public hearing was over, we reconvened the school board meeting. So Sally has, as is our practice, Sally has given me the emendations. And I have forwarded them on to Kristen, and Kristen will print them so that they will be on the permanent record. Does anybody have anything? Sally?
So just to clarify, for, just kind of getting it on the record, the emendations are strictly proofreading, grammatical, sentence level edits, commas, omissions, that sort of thing. Anything substantive that would change the meaning, I would bring to the, to the full table. And so I do have one thing that I think does need some clarification. In the minutes for the reconvened school board meeting, the second to last item, the second to last entry is a comment from Bill Hines, and it does need some clarification in that it currently reads, Bill Hines Bosquin, to back a prior comment of the district committing fraud, noting Randy had admitted a mistake was made on a document and would be corrected. I just think that could use some clarification. And I believe that what took place, like the conversation was that he had sort of returned to and perhaps walked back the sort of the intensity of a prior comment regarding fraud. So I'm just wondering what an appropriate rephrasing would be that would retain the initial, the intent, the spirit of the comment without disrupting it. I just think that it needs a little bit of clarification. So would walked back a prior comment regarding the district committing fraud?
I think that
Work.
would clarify.
Okay.
And I would agree that that was what the intent of this comment was.
Okay. All right.
Would you agree with that, Bill?
See, yeah, you're here.
Okay, yeah, I just.
The words that I used were take back.
Okay,
Take back, okay.
Thank you.
So we can use take back.
or took back.
Or took back.
Thank you. So I would like a motion to approve the minutes as corrected. Moved by Julia,
Second.
seconded by Dan. Any other discussion? All those in favor of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Any abstentions?
I'm going to abstain.
Stacy abstained, Tom abstained. Thank you. You didn't have to abstain if you had read them. Even if you weren't here, if you had read them, that would be fine. Yep. Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, next on the agenda would be public comment about things on the agenda. Comment, public? Anyone? Okay, then. So next will be the SAU report on MV Business and Finance.
I do apologize. The printed copy appears to have been cut off, but everything that you received in the digital packet is correct and shows all of the information. With the overages, there was only one addition to those lines on the overages. The others, some of them have gone down a little bit because you'll see the encumbrance shrink a little and change that budget balance, but no major changes to the overages sheet. Happy to try to answer any questions that you may have.
I have a question.
Yes. Do you want to grab the mic? so-
Sorry. When I was looking over the finances, just as a new board member, is there any way for us to have some sort of background on, some of the budget balances remaining were in the negative?
Right.
So I think some of them I could guess maybe why, but just some,
Sure, that's why we do the overages page that's on the
Okay.
front.
Yeah.
As you scroll down through and see the report summary.
Yeah.
So I can go through some of the lines. We're kind of repeating some of the things, but one of the very large numbers you may see under psych services, that's where we encumbered funds for agency paraprofessionals, which was one of the things that led to a freezing of the budget back in late September, early October, because we, by having to hire agency paras instead of getting our own paraprofessionals, that was a huge number. We can't put them in a salary line because they're not our employees. So we chose that psych line to put that in. So that's the major overage that's on that page.
and for the building improvements, is that in regards to the track?
It is.
It is, okay.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all.
Anything else?
So I will need a motion to approve the business and finance report.
So moved. Second?
Thank you. Moved by Jess, seconded by Laura. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the business and finance report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
I'm gonna abstain just because I really haven't had a chance to look at it.
No problem. Thank you. Good news. So I'll give it to Randy, but I loved the good news. I always that's my favorite thing about the board packet when we get it. It makes me so happy to see all the things that are happening in our schools. I especially loved, is Jen here? Yes. I especially loved that kindergarten won the PES Penny Wars. That cracked me up. But anyway, so go ahead.
It was quite the fight.
Was it?
I don't have much to add other than that's, the digital package is a 124-page document, and you'll notice that if you have the, printed packet in front of you, that's nowhere near 124 pages. So it just shows you how much good news is in there. And it's great that we can get the word out that way, and that people can have access to, all the good things happening in our schools. So.
Anybody else? Anything about the good news?
I would love to hear more about I would love to hear more about the Explorers program when they get through their sessions, because it ends in April. So it'd be really cool to have that maybe be one of the presentations.
Thank you, Melissa.
I had a question, sorry.
Don't be sorry. You're fine. You can ask whatever you need.
For a couple of the items in the good news package, I was just wondering, is this provided only to community members who have a student in the district? Just because things like the Tiny Explorers program or the MVLC food bank, I was just wondering if there's a way to get that out to the community, or if this was these were intended just for the school families.
So the s'mores are on the, s'mores are not the these, but the s'mores are the online, the digital packet, and from each school, and they are posted on the school, on the district website, and on the each school website.
Okay.
Do you want to say something else?
Yeah, just folks can go to individual schools and sign up to be on that list, and the board packet, the public packet that has all of that information is put online as well. So last Thursday it went public so folks could get access that way. So there is ways that people could take a look at that. As far as us adding people who don't have connections to the school, it's kind of tough because things change. They would have to reach out to us, but when they do, I know they just get added to that sort of listserv, if you will.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? A lot of coughing, yes. Okay, next. Nick, you're up.
All righty. So there is a lot happening in the Valley, and a lot even more coming up here this month. So real quick, I just wanted to start by saying congratulations to our new board members. My name is Nick Telinas. I'm the student representative. So kind of my role here is each month I bring you guys a report of some of the great things happening around the schools. And also, if you ever have any questions regarding something that you're voting on or you would like student perspective, feel free to ask me any questions you might have. So we are finally in the month of the MVHS theater production of Into the Woods. We have 4 show dates, Thursday, March 27th and Friday, March 28th. Both of those shows will be at 6:30. Saturday, March 29th, we have a matinee at 1:30 and then the night show at 6:30. Tickets for adults are $10, students $7. You can buy online on the MVHS website or by going onto your online packet and scrolling down to the MVHS newsletter. So pretty much Into the Woods is a Tony Award-winning musical written by Stephen Sondheim. He's a classic. It intertwines classical fairy tales like Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, Jack and the Beanstalk, and Rapunzel into a captivating story about wishes, consequences, and the unexpected twists of life. The theater department will also be hosting a theater festival here at the high school this Saturday, the 15th. We will be hosting 4 other schools. That is Plymouth, Lisbon, Guilford, and Kearsarge. They will all bring their plays that they've done so far this year. Plymouth will start off at 9:20. 10:15 will be MV. Then we have some break in the middle. And Kearsarge, 1:35. 2:30 will be Guilford, and 3:25 will be Lisbon. So kind of a full day of plays, and whoever does the best will move on to states. So it's pretty neat. The MVHS girls varsity basketball senior Kayla Smith reached her 1,000th career point on senior night against John Stark. She is the 14th member of the 1,000-point club and the 7th girls basketball athlete to reach the feat. So very great to see our athletics thriving. Our high school boys basketball players took a trip to Loudon Elementary School a few weeks ago to read books to the students. And at this point, all winter sports are complete and a great season for all. So everyone's now looking forward to lacrosse, track, all that sort of stuff in the spring. Baseball, softball, all sorts of stuff. 6th grade music students took a trip to every elementary school last month to recruit band and chorus students as they are looking, especially mostly the 5th graders, as they're moving on up to the middle school next year. At the middle school, Mrs. Kilmister and a group of students enjoyed a chilly day on the ice this past month. The group was joined by members of New Hampshire Fish and Game, part of their Let's Go Fishing program, who helped the students learn about ice fishing and ice safety. I remember when I was in the middle school, I always looked forward to doing the Let's Go Fishing program. High school's FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America group, will be attending the annual state conference in Manchester on March 20th and 21st. They will compete in business-related events, listen to public speakers, and get to know other FBLA members from around the state. I will be joining them while I also emceeing the event, so I'll bring back some results at the next meeting for you guys. Wednesday, March 12th, will be the district band concert. That is this Wednesday at 6 p.m. in the auditorium. And then the district chorus concert will be next Thursday, March 20th, also at 6 p.m. in the auditorium. So as you can see, a lot happening around the valley. Now I have some jokes. It's going to be music related. Get ready. Why did the drummer complain about his salad? It had no beats. And what's Avocado's favorite music? Walk and roll. I know, unbearable.
Can I just get the date of the FBLA again? Is it March 20th?
Yes, it will be March 20th and 21st,
Thank you.
2-day event.
Thanks, Nick. As always, thank you for your jokes.
Yeah.
Any questions for Nick? Okay. Next, committee reports. The only committees that met were policy and, whoa, did you meet?
So policy met on February 3rd, and we did have policies ACAAR-1, ACAAR-2 that we had reviewed before. I believe those are in the packet for tonight. Yes, for a first read. I lost track of which ones were in the packet. I'm sorry. We also brought JLCB, the immunization of students, to the policy to the packet as well. I think were there a couple others that were tied to this?
Also a first read on JLC.
Oh, yep. And a first read on JLCB. And again, these are policies that we've looked at a couple of times, went in and did some tweaking with the editing of like commas, making the sentences make sense if they didn't or they were unclear. We definitely relied on the School Board Association to guide us on these, so we didn't make major edits to content. But they're in the packet for a first read. We do have another meeting. I don't know if we're there yet, but we do have a meeting set up. So when we start talking about committees, we'll get that on the books for everybody.
We can talk about a meeting right now.
We're looking at March 24th for a meeting at 5:30 for the policy committee. I know we have a couple of new members that might be joining us, so I want to make sure it's out there. We have quite a few to tackle, so.
Can you repeat that date? I'm sorry.
March 24th at 5:30.
Thank you.
And we'll meet in the library because it's right before the. It's not before the
No.
board meeting.
We'll still meet here.
We're going to meet in the library. It's like, I was confused because we normally do that only when we have a board meeting.
With coming events.
Got it. Perfect.
So those are all first reads. And one of them is 18 pages long. So there's a lot of reading to do. If you have any comments or any questions, contact Melissa or Catherine,
Yep.
either one, please.
It would be great to have that feedback if there's anything that you have questions on for the 24th, so we can discuss it as a committee before we come back to the board with it.
And also we're going to be revising these to realign the updated timeline.
And there'll be more revisions to them on our end too.
May I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So, and I'm not used to committees.
Yep.
Usually everything's done at the board meeting where I am. Can you explain how, just how the process goes from getting this part to giving feedback, to going back to policy, to coming back and finally having a
Yep.
vote?
So we have several subcommittees. Policy is only one of them. But we meet as a policy committee and we take a look at the policies that are recommended for review based on legislation. We also review policies that are older, so we like to keep them on a cycle to review them. We look for the feedback from the School Board Association if there's relevant feedback for that. We make revisions based on input that we may have already had or discussions we're having on that small committee. Then we bring somebody from the committee moves it to be brought to the school board. It gets put in the packet for you guys to have a first read. Typically, we have a first and a second read before we take action to accept a policy. Every once in a while, there's a policy that we are able to move forward with one read, depending on what's in it or what the changes were.
So at the second read, is that when the vote
Yep.
is
Then-
taken?
Yeah, typically we would be looking at a second read and then an action to accept the policy. If there's a lot of discussion or the policy is still unclear, it can go back to the policy committee before and have another read.
Okay, and this is in black and white, maybe I can't see it. Is there a way to tell what the changes are from what was the current policy to the recommended changes? Is there a way to tell?
We do keep track of that. Most of these changes were all, again, commas and periods and
Okay,
punctuation.
So there's no content change.
No, there were really no content changes to these, but they're going to have some changes based on some feedback we've gotten with the new legislation that just happened. But we want people to have their eyes on them because they are long.
No, and I appreciate that. I
Yeah, no
just-
problem.
But when it comes back, so say we give feedback
Yep.
and it comes back and there's
Content changes, we would.
content change,
yes.
there'll be cross outs and new language.
We'll make it very clear what's the new
Okay,
change.
Awesome, thank you.
Great
very much.
question.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Any other questions for Melissa or Catherine about policies? Okay, then. New business. Board ethics policy? Oh, I went the wrong way, sorry.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good.
So you will find the board ethics policy in the back of your packet. It's policy BCA. And so it's included in here for all of you to review. Tomorrow, I will be sending out a Google form asking you to sign it to confirm your receipt and understanding of the board ethics.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Are there any
Answers the
questions for Catherine about the board ethics policy? Next are school board committee assignments. I'm taking this. This one's yours. Here, you can take it.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
That's okay. That's okay. Before I, if you look on the very back page where it says school board committee assignments, those were the previous school board assignments. And of course, Eric Hansen is no longer with us. Peggy Jones Blanchard is not with us. And then, of course, there were the two Bosquen people who left in the middle of the year. Before I ask about who would like to be on what committee, I know that Melissa had said at one point that she wanted to change. She thought she might want to change. So if there is any previously sitting board member who would like to change their committee for something else, I'd like to know that now before I look for board members, new board members to fist fight over the.
What are the groups that we need to have a representative from?
They all the committees need at least one person except for negotiations, which is full. Except that
Except-
Melissa said that she would like to
Yes.
change.
So because I would like to stay on policy and I've been asked to join finance, I felt like policy and finance and negotiations would be a little overwhelming with the amount of commitment to that and time commitment. So I wasn't really ready to step down from policy, but I feel like negotiations would be something that I would be okay with letting go of to stay on finance.
May I just clarify? I think, Dan, you were asking about which committees require membership from each
Oh,
of the 5 towns.
I'm sorry,
That's
Dan.
okay.
I misunderstood your question.
So finance.
Just finance. Okay.
And taking a look at what I'm seeing here, I'm assuming that members serve typically on 4 committees. Is that right? Okay, thank you.
3 or 4,
3 or 4.
yes.
Would it be helpful if I offered an overview of the committee structure for everyone?
Sure.
Okay. So typically, we have our board members serving on 3 to 4 committees. And board members are given the opportunity to identify preferences, and we do our best to make sure that we're able to ensure that board members at least have one of their preferences met. Meetings are held on Monday afternoon evenings at a time that's conducive to the majority membership attendance. A quorum is necessary for a committee meeting to be held. And regular committee attendance ensures that we can be productive and make progress. Each committee will elect a chairperson annually at the first meeting
Oh,
following
duh.
this particular school board meeting. Meeting minutes will be kept and shared with the full board. The committee chairperson will report out to the full board at the following full school board meeting. Committees will make recommendations to the school board on matters within their purview. A great deal of the work of the board happens within those committees. And committees will obviously be complying with all applicable laws and regulations.
Thank you, Catherine.
I have a question.
Yes.
For the committee meetings, are those also published and available for the public to attend?
Yes,
Okay. Are they live streamed as well?
except for negotiations. I'm sorry. Yes, negotiation not open to the public.
Okay.
Um,
What about personnel or policy? That's open?
Policy is open.
Policy is open.
Policy is open.
But-
Okay.
But Stacy, to your
Ethics
question
is
about,
open, I don't think.
Oh, and student ethics is not.
but Stacy can ask about if they are live streamed.
Yeah, and Randy was going to answer that.
No, the committee meetings are not live streamed,
Okay.
but they are open to the public.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that. So I'd like to start with finance. Finance is the one where it is. Thanks. And so the committee oversees the district's budget, financial planning, resource allocation to ensure fiscal responsibility and alignment with educational priorities. It reviews financial reports, funding proposal, and expenditures, providing recommendations to the full board for sound financial decision-making. So it needs one representative from each town. And the meeting times are biweekly, sometimes weekly, from October to December. And there's not a lot of meeting at any other time than that. We have an opening for a Salisbury representative and a Bosquen representative. Is there anybody from Salisbury who would like to serve on the Finance Committee? Julia would like to be there.
Oh, I'm excited.
If that's okay with Lauren.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll fight.
I don't know.
I win.
Are you going to arm wrestle?
Yeah.
Okay. And we need somebody from Bosquen. Tom, Stacy, would you like to duke it out with Tom or? Okay.
He's big, but I think you could take him.
I think you could. Okay, then. Alrighty, so I am looking for 2 people to serve on the curriculum committee. Let me tell you what the curriculum committee is all about for those of you who are new. The committee ensures instructional programs align with state standards, district goals, and student needs. It reviews student performance data, supports teacher development, and gathers input from educators, parents, and the community. The committee also monitors policy changes and examines instructional materials to support effective learning. Right now, Sally Hirsch Dickinson, Laura Vincent, and Dan York are on the committee. So, David,
Yes, please.
If you need another, I would.
Stacy. Thank you. Facilities is the next one I have. The committee is responsible for overseeing the maintenance and improvement of school facilities. Oh, I should have told you that curriculum usually meets bi-monthly, so it's not a huge time suck. Facilities meets quarterly, usually, more frequently as needed. You do have to work pretty close with Fred, though, so so I need 2 people for facilities. Anyone? Anyone? David and Lorna. Next on my list is student ethics. Committee is responsible for promoting ethical behavior among students. There is no set meeting times for that. It's sort of on an as-needed basis. I am looking for one person to, David? Thank you very much. Personnel and policy. You had a little introduction to personnel and policy. They review, develop, and update district, you already read this, but I'll read it again. Update district policies to ensure they align with legal requirements, educational best practices, and community needs. It also gathers input from stakeholders and recommends policy changes to the full board for consideration. And I am looking for one. Stacy? Thank you, Stacy. Long-range planning. So I'm looking for 4. So I'm hoping that all 4 of you will. You're the only one so far, yes.
I can say in a year, we haven't had a meeting. So.
It's down the road.
Long
Long range.
It's, yeah.
How often do they meet? Because the other one should give them.
I should probably tell you. Long-range planning is responsible for developing and implementing a long-range plan for the school district. Once or twice a year is usually how often that committee meets.
I can step in for Eric's spot
Where?
for long range planning.
I'm full.
Oh, you got it.
I'm full.
The newbies are all.
All of them took it?
Yep. So I'm thinking that you will be on transportation, Melissa?
I've done that before. I can do that again.
Okay. I need 2 more people for transportation. Transportation Committee oversees school transportation services to ensure safe, efficient, and cost-effective student transportation. It reviews routes, policies, and budgets while addressing concerns related to safety, scheduling, and compliance with regulations. Quarterly. Oh, okay. So Lorna and Stacy, thank you. And last but not least would be negotiations. Committee represents the board in collective bargaining with employee unions, ensuring contracts align with district resources and priorities. It works to negotiate fair agreements on salaries, benefits, and working conditions while maintaining fiscal responsibility and educational goals. It is responsible for negotiating contracts with school district employees. It meets monthly, mostly from September to December, when the negotiations are taking place.
Sometimes a little more often towards the end and we need.
Right. And thank you. Yes, and it could meet more than that. I need one person. David, that will be great. Have you, in your former life, were you on the negotiation team
No, that's not.
in your school district? This will be fun.
It is fun.
I don't like
But I say that about every committee. so-
Melissa left.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Yes, I felt like 3 big ones were a lot.
Oh, you did say that, sorry.
That's okay.
So thank you all so much for stepping up to be on all these committees. It is a lot of work. So thank you. Oops. This is my copy. Thanks. Any questions about committees, committee responsibilities? Do we have any committees that will be meeting besides policy? Policy, remember, the meeting has already been set, and it is March 24th at 5:30, and it will be here in this room.
In this room.
I'm sorry, I missed that part.
March 24th at 5:30 for policy,
Yes.
here in this room. Anybody else have any questions on policy?
I have questions about facilities. We haven't met in a little while. Is there a plan anytime soon?
Any other questions? Julia, question about long-range plan?
Do the committees have chairs to them?
Yes,
They do.
and you will assign chairs. You will elect, not assign, you will elect chairs at the first meeting, your first next meeting. Any other questions? Or your first next meeting, smarty pants. Okay, next on the agenda, manifest and journal entries.
Can I
So,
interrupt a second, please? Do you
Sure.
mind, since we're on new business? I guess my question is, as I go through this, when are we talking about the public hearing? And the finances and so forth, that we got work to do?
There'll be a little bit, I'll be talking about that as part of my report.
Okay, I'll
to
look
give
at that.
the
Thank you.
next steps
Thank you.
for-
Thank you.
so next is manifest and journal entries, and Melissa and I have both signed the manifest and journal entries electronically. You all read them. If you didn't get a chance to read them, that's fine. It's understandable, especially the first time, and you couldn't find them. So it does happen. So I need a motion. Julia, so moved.
I actually read them. I will second.
Jess,
Or Melissa.
I said no judgment there about whether you had read them or not. Are there any questions on the manifest and journal entries?
Do we receive those on a monthly basis with the board
Yes.
meeting? We do.
They
Okay.
they come to you before, they come to you at the same time you get your packet,
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
or sometimes a couple days before. Any other questions?
This is sort of related. I would like us, if we can manage it, to have some kind of training. I mean, I feel like I need training on the financial system, the new, and we have a bunch of new people. I think if we could have some kind of training on it, it would be great.
To kind of add to that, does the New Hampshire School Board Association have any training around this kind of items specifically?
They have a new board member.
New board member training and stuff like that? Just so new folks who don't know what I'm talking about, we have a membership, or that's what it's called, with the New Hampshire School Board Association, means we have access to their training. So if there's anything, I'm sure that Randy or Catherine can kind of guide you on that, but if there's anything you want to take training in, we have the option to do that.
I can. So the School Boards Association does have a new school board member training, which is really very good. And it's over in their building, which is across, right on the same area as Target. It's right on Triangle Park Drive. That's what it's called. It is March 20th. Nope. We'll forward it. We'll forward it on to you, but you will also probably be getting updates from the School Board Association. Your name will go in as a new school board member, and you'll be getting automatic updates from the School Board Association. So they do have different trainings, and we have a membership. So if there is a training that you want to attend, you can contact Katie Keyser at the superintendent's office. Or that's who I always have contact, so. When I want to go. So we have a motion on the table for the manifest and journal entries to approve those. Any other questions? All those in favor of manifest and journal entries, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Lorna, yes. And
I'm
Stacy
gonna abstain.
and Sally.
I couldn't get access. I don't know if, I did click the request access button, but I don't know if the request.
Sometimes go up and check that you're using the correct email address. Because sometimes what happens, for me anyway, when I realize that that's what's happening, it's my tbricky@gmail is the one that like automatically comes up, and I don't have access as tbricky@gmail. It has to be tbricky@mvsdpride.org. So try that, and if that doesn't work, then we'll try something else. Next is the board chairperson's report, and I don't normally give a report, but there was there are two things I want to do. I want to thank the new board members. It's really wonderful to see so many people who ran, and I'm very happy that you were elected. I'm glad you're all here and looking forward to working with you over the next year or 3. At the annual meeting, there was a man on Thursday evening who stood up and wanted to hear from the legislators in the meeting or in the audience, and what they had done for education in New Hampshire. And I don't know the new board members, if you know that I was elected for the first time in November as the representative from Pennacook, the legislator from Pennacook, Merrimack District 15. I want to say that why I ran for the legislature is because public education is important to me. And I believe that it is probably the most important thing that I could make a difference at. So I just wanted to talk about the things that have happened in education in the state legislature. So this is like my point of personal privilege. But I am on the agenda. So the first thing was House Bill 115. That my committee is education funding. House Bill 115 is university eligibility for EFAs, which are education freedom accounts, which also have a nickname of vouchers. It was January 16th, and there were, it was the very first week of the legislature. I believe that it was scheduled at that time so that there could not be as much online testimony, because once the hearing has happened, online testimony ends. House Bill 115 will be in front of the whole House on Thursday. So what this does is, if you don't know what education freedom accounts are or vouchers, they allow parents, they give funds to parents, and they allow parents to use them for things that their children, for private schools, they allow them to use them for religious schools, they allow them to use them for homeschool. Although I have to say that there's a large homeschool population that does not take EFAs, and they're pretty vocal about that. I think Jeremy, I don't see him. Normally Jeremy Margolis, who is the Concord Monitor reporter for education, he is normally here. He's doing a series on EFAs. And so if you have anything that you want to say about EFAs, good or bad, I would say contact your representative and let them know before Thursday. House Bill 283 talked about adequate education. It was the bill that was going to eliminate social studies. It was going to eliminate technology. It was going to eliminate a number of other things. 27,000 people wrote in and had online testimony against that bill. And that bill was indefinitely postponed. House Bill 583, those of you on the board who are friends of mine on Facebook, this was the day that was my worst nightmare. In my committee, it was a bill for Medicaid direct certification for free and reduced lunch. It was a bill that had no cost to the state, and it would have qualified 10,000 more students for free and reduced lunch in New Hampshire. House Bill 771, which is about open enrollment. It would allow sending districts to pay 80% of their tuition, of the sending district's tuition, to the receiving district to take their student, even if the receiving district's tuition was significantly higher. House Bill 208, which is certification requirements for school nurses. It removes all the criteria for the state no longer will have to certify school nurses. And those school nurses will not need any pediatric background. House Bill 352 dealt with polling places, firearms in polling places. As those of you who have already been on the board know my position about the polling and the fact that firearms are allowed in polling places, and all of our schools, most of our schools are used as polling places. Last week, House Bill 524 was repealed the New Hampshire Vaccine Association, and House Bill 724, which dealt with lead paint poisoning prevention and remediation. So just so you know, I voted against all of those bills. And Sally will understand this. I felt like when we were in COVID and Sally and I, or just I, would put forth a motion here, and we were the only two who voted against it, and everybody else, or voted for it, and everybody else was. So just so you know, I haven't won on any of these. So, but just know that I'm out there fighting. I did win on the right to work bill. It was indefinitely postponed. So that doesn't have a lot to do with education, but it was a win for me. So that was so now that I made y'all, now that I really put y'all up there in a good mood, that's my board chairperson report. And I probably won't do that again. I just needed to, I really was hoping to, that he would have brought it up on Friday evening. I know he didn't because it was late, and I'm sure that's why he didn't. And it was understandable, but I needed y'all to know that I'm working really hard down there for not just the families and students here in Merrimack Valley, but all the families and students in New Hampshire. So thank you for listening. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you. Thank you, Lorna.
And I just want to say, I appreciate when the board chair gives a report. So I hope that you will consider at least having something at each of our meetings, because your input is valuable to this committee. And as you're going into your second year, I'd like to see you expand that work.
Okay, thanks. Thanks very much. Next on the agenda is the Assistant Superintendent's report.
And I do not have a report for the board tonight.
Thank you. So I was deeply saddened by the results from Thursday night's vote, as many of us were. The deep cuts that are going to have to occur to make up the almost $2 million cut are going to have some implications for our students and our staff. We're going to lose some very good staff as a result, beyond the people that are going to be moving on. There's also, as we've seen in some other communities, other staff end up leaving because of that feeling of insecurity. And the path that we've outlined towards financial well-being is certainly going to be set back a couple of years. I think we're going to stay true to that course, but we were hoping that path forward was going to get us closer to some of the DRA, the Department of Revenue Administration, and the Government Finance Officers Association recommendations. But I think that'll take a back seat for a little bit. But we are Valley strong, and I believe that the community will rally and that we'll get through this. We have a tough job ahead of us. So the proposed budgetary increases had virtually no discretionary items on the list. So it truly is that full cut. So we'd like to set a board meeting for March 24th at 6:30. And it's at that time that we'll present the board with a plan. And the board's role in this will be to approve that plan. That will give us an opportunity both before to talk to staff to let them know that their position may be potentially on the RIF, so a reduction in force list due to the cuts. And that March 24th, we'll lay out the different amounts, and that's probably going to be somewhere between 15 and 20 positions, in addition to some of the different programs that we may be able to reduce or put on the back burner for a year or two as we make that almost $2 million in the budget cuts. So March 24th, 6:30, the plan will be laid out, and then we can go through that, identify the different parts of that plan, show the the financial pieces as it leads up to it, and then we'll at the April meeting is when one of the reasons we have to get this done in March is because the April meeting is when we are going to give the list of nominations for professional positions, because contracts have to go out in April by April 15th, I believe. And so we'll take care of that this month and move forward. So we have a tough job ahead of us, but we are on it. We've met already with the administration, the union, and legal, and we'll circle back around. We have many other meetings scheduled, as you can imagine. It's not just take care of this one, take care of that one. It's kind of like pulling at something on a sweater, and things start coming unraveled. And if one person leaves, if they have bumping rights over another position, that causes a ripple effect. So we have to really lay all of those pieces out as we're trying to figure things out. Jess, you had a question?
Yeah, I just had a question. When you're going to present this plan to us, is this going to be like a written plan plus the budget with all of the changes in it?
We'll have a written plan to show essentially the 1.9 million and some change, where each of those dollar amounts come from, as well as the positions that we will be eliminating as part of that, and that will be done in public session.
Okay. And will we be receiving that information ahead of time to review over it before the meeting?
It's really just to approve the plan. Once we get the plan laid out, because anything leading up to that could still be one of those things that are in motion. So it's under the purview of the board is to approve the plan. And as we looked at, we contacted some other districts that have been that went through this same thing. Some of them didn't even ask for formal approval from the board, but we feel that's a necessary step as part of this process.
Just a quick question also about process. So is what you bring to the board, will that be an up or down vote, or will there be, will it be a conversation in which there are suggestions and emendations, or is it just, here is the plan, vote yes or no?
I'll have to dig into that a little bit. There may be some around the the fringes, but as far as the positional cuts, that would be something that we couldn't say, well, how about this instead of that? Because then that creates that whole flurry again, and we would have already been speaking with the people who are potentially on that list prior to that meeting, just to give them a heads up that the board will be voting on the plan. And most things, because there's not a whole lot of fluff, there are just things that we're going to go without. And, if we're saving $200,000 by not having something, there's really not another $200,000 thing to do without. So there's really, it seems like there'd be a lot of things, but most of the moving parts are within those professional positions and the support staff positions.
Dr. Worm, I just have a quick question. When you talk about like programs and such, are we talking more about like sporting teams, or are we talking more about like different like clubs like FBLA, or maybe some of the ones like aren't self-funded? Because I know theater, we're all like self-funded because of the people that like come to the show. So I know that at least theater will be safe, which is good. But like other
It'll be any of
programs.
those sorts of things, Nick. That's a good example. Yeah.
I have a question. I have two actually. Are you anticipating or planning to anticipate for some fallout from that? Because I know it was Pembroke.
Yeah.
Pembroke. They had a lot of fallout. So these 15 to 20 positions is not including any of that fallout that you're anticipating.
Correct. There's
Okay.
definitely, so Pembroke last year, when they had 3 million, over 2 million of it was staff cuts. And they RIFT, or reduction in force, 27 teachers, 25 others left as part of that whole thing, which that is not something that we can control.
Right.
But we think that by, really, we're trying to minimize that. I'd rather be closer to that 15 than the 20, because I think each position that we save provides a little bit of stability, which is another reason that we'd like to make sure that we let folks know that this is coming, prior to the board vote. So once we get that narrowed down, and like I said, we have many meetings already scheduled because of those different moving parts. But if we can, do something to save a position, we're going to save the position and look for other places that we can make some of those cuts.
Okay. And then one question, just because I feel like it's anticipated to come. I feel like it's inevitable coming from the community, especially being there Thursday and Friday and hearing concerns around it. And I don't know the exact number. I've heard 3, I've heard 5, and I've heard 6 of these positions that are open but not filled. Are those intended to be some of the positions to be cut?
Yeah, so those aren't positions that are, I think there was some confusion the way
Yeah.
that people were presenting that. Those aren't current positions. Those were what we were planning for next year based on student enrollment numbers and things that we thought we could do. So those are definitely part of the 15. So
Okay.
even though I said 15 to 20 positions, I didn't say 15 to 20 people. So some of those that were going to be absorbed as part of that will go on that list, but it's 15 to 20 positions, not 15 to
Gotcha.
20 people.
Thank you. Yeah, that helps.
Lorna?
There was, on this report, there was the various towns and what the estimated tax rate will be.
Yes.
And my opinion is $2 million is not going to save people a ton of money on their property taxes, but would there be a way to update this, say, we're cutting 2 million and you're going to save 15 cents per thousand?
Yeah, we can certainly put that. That doesn't, there's not one of those up on the web or anything. It really is just, an estimate for folks.
But I think it would be helpful because
Yeah.
I really do feel like people think they're going to be saving a ton of money. And I don't believe it will be.
On a $300,000 home, it'll be about $12 a month.
Right, so.
So I think so, Bill, you can take a look at those numbers, but
So
yes, Laura.
I think it's important that we document all the positions and all the cuts we have to make to code services for students, so that, yes, this is going to hurt students. So we hope we're going to try to minimize the hurt, but we do have a list so that we don't hear next year, well, you didn't tell me we cut 2 million.
Yeah, the plan will clearly articulate what what
Yeah.
positions are being cut and programs and what those things do, so.
We need to keep that in writing.
Mhm.
So can I chime in, please?
Tom, sure.
Yeah, I respectfully disagree with what's going to happen.
Mhm.
I spent a lot of time this weekend digging into this, and I sent you guys an email with some thoughts and ideas. And I want to remind everybody, the budget is the board's budget. It's the board's budget. And I think that it would be appropriate. I was going to recommend that we have a meeting next Monday night on the 17th and actually do the work of the business, the work of the district in front of the people. I got a lot of questions. I got ideas where we can take money from. I don't think we need to lose 14 positions. I think it can be far, far, far fewer than that. And I think it would be wise to have a conversation and talk about some of these lines. It's very hard to dig into this completely because we only have function lines. And I appreciate you sending me the 24 budget and actuals. But I don't know if some of those are transfers because of the issue. But I think that it would be wise for this board, come on Monday and you bring suggestions. But I have a lot of things in here that I'd like to talk about that involve salaries. And, you know, when you're also reducing salaries, you're also reducing FICA in New Hampshire retirement benefits, talk about the health insurance potentially. I mentioned the CIP plan where that's $375,000 you could remove from that. I'm sorry, Fred, but you could do that. And you could allow Fred to use up to $216,000 from his MET. I mean, there are ways to do this. We don't have to cut that many people, but I think we should do this business in front of the people. This is.
And we will on the 26th. It's not the purview of, the 24th rather, it's not the purview of the board to be in that. I asked that question specifically about how this should work.
So how do we give you, how do I share what I have with you, Randy? Because I'm going to bring it up on the 24th. How do I share that with you?
Well, you can go through the board chair and give her your thoughts, but we're going to be digging in and the board is going to approve the plan. That's the role of the board in this process.
Hold on.
But
Yeah. So when you said you asked, did you ask legal? And
I
legal
did.
said that the board does not have control over directing what cuts
I
go
asked
where.
more than once so that I could gain clarity on exactly what
Okay.
the board's role is in this process.
Okay. I have another question, which might be silly. Is there on the 24th for the approval process, can we, and I'm kind of asking you, Tracy, we can offer almost like an advisory warrant, right? Something similar to what we would do at annual meeting as a board and say, we would like you to do this, that, and the other thing. Even if legally that's not within our position, can we still do something like that? Because this feels a little off to me.
I don't believe that is what we can do. I will need to talk with Jim O'Shaughnessy, who is our legal person, and find out what, and I will talk to him and I will send out to you to all of you, what he says to me about the process. My guess is as Randy had said, the reason that it's sort of like a whole plan is because once you do one thing, then this thing moves and then this thing moves. It's not like we can say, oh, next year we're not going to give people raises. Those are contractual. We've already bargained those. But I will certainly, I have not spoken with Jim yet, and I will certainly get in touch with him. I have his phone number and his email. So I will get in touch with him and ask him those questions. David and then Sally
Yeah, I would appreciate it if you could.
and then Tom.
My major concern right here is the impact on morale in the district. And having been through in private industry when we had to take salary cuts, or seeing it years where we didn't get contracts renewed, we lost people. And one of the biggest things when you lose that is you lose institutional knowledge. You have to end up training new people. And of course, even if it's not dollars and cents, it's what experienced teachers and faculty people are doing to help the newcomers. And that, of course, impacts the amount of time you have to do your real job, which is to be interacting with the students. So I'm really for anything that we can possibly do or have a discussion or to find out there's a way that we can somehow mitigate this as much as possible.
Sally?
So just to, again, this is a processy question, but I know that the finals, that Randy and Catherine, get to put together the plan. Is there anything that precludes us as board members from saying, offering suggestions?
Well, that's what I had mentioned to Tom, that if, he wants to send it to Tracy, then after Tracy's discussion with legal, if there are things that is there's a way to, get some of the board's comments to be part of that process. I think that might work.
So we can
But
send-
please,
yeah.
yes, please send them to me.
But-
Tom?
But it's not a discussion. I mean, we build budgets in front of the public. This is a budget matter. I have so many questions, and to send them to Tracy and not be able to dialogue back and forth, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make any sense to me. I think that we need to have conversations, and quite frankly, to be given an option and vote yes or no is not the right thing to do. We should be having these conversations. For instance, I was looking today on the budget here, the one that was in the packet. You have your food service expenditures say $750,000, but your revenues are $1,063,000. So that tells me there's a $313,000 surplus in food service. If we have that, then why aren't we using that money to take out of the fund? Because food service surpluses can be used on anything surplus, which includes salaries, benefits, CIP projects. Is there anything can be pulled? Unless this is incorrect, we have surplus there. And there are so many places in here that I would love to talk about, and questions that I have as far as attrition. You're losing a first grade teacher at Bosquen. Can we at least have the conversation? You have two very small classes in first grade and fifth grade at Webster and Salisbury. Could we make that one class and have those kids all in one school with one teacher? There are things that need to be explored, that need to have a conversation. This
Hold on.
should take a while.
I'm confused what you're saying about a first and a fifth grade.
There's a Webster, and
Yep.
if you combined Webster, Salisbury, first grade for next year,
Okay.
it's like 20 kids.
So we had a 3 years ago, we had a small school study, and the people in Webster and Salisbury are not willing to combine their schools.
Schools. I'm talking about grade levels. There's 6 miles.
It's the same thing.
but-
It's the same thing, Tom.
Okay, so
They're
let's
not
say-
willing to.
Okay, so that
and
doesn't happen.
If we're going to listen to the people in the communities, we need to listen to the people in the communities.
Okay, well, I'm just going to say this with how this is, I'm just telling you what I feel. And maybe I'm not right, but I'm just telling you. At that meeting, I heard transparency. I don't see this as being transparent. And I don't see how not talking about budget matters here, where we can all have discussions and share ideas, is not allowed. I just don't see that.
Respectfully, if I have word from legal counsel and your opinion, it's my job to go with the word of legal counsel. But I thank you for your input, and we had some of those same things that you've mentioned on our list. So we have, believe me, we're turning over every stone to look for ways that we can reduce the number of positions, because that's the last thing that we want to do. I wish that number was 0 and that there were ways to cut from other places. So we are looking at all possibilities.
So can I speak with you privately? Can I go through my questions with you privately?
Well, like I said, if you want to send them to Tracy and she said that she would contact Jim
Yes.
and work that out.
And that's fine. That's fine with me. We can set up a
These
time to
aren't
meet.
legal- These aren't legal questions.
We can set up a time to meet, Tom.
That's fine. Let's do it.
Okay,
Yeah, let's do it.
no problem. Laura?
I'm imagining that this is gonna affect the related arts at the elementary level, and we had the rotation.
Let's hope not.
It's worked out so nicely with the art. the
I don't want to
music,
imagine anything right now.
But if it does, I will vote if I need to. I will keep me from voting on the budget. But I want to make a statement about how we work to get that and really the effect that it would have. And I'm just letting you know.
Thank you, Laura. Anyone else?
Can I just say one last thing?
Sure.
And there's a lot of talk about Pembroke. Pembroke was level funded. We got a 3% increase. In my 10 years as a principal in this district, we get 2.5%, 3% every year. And we made it work. And I just think that sitting here saying we're going to lose 20 positions, it doesn't need to happen. It doesn't. There are places that we can take from.
Thank you. Okay,
I have one last thing.
sure.
I know that, this is all new for everybody and that we give a lot of our time to this board. But I like Tom, I can't really let this go. I would really like to have an update publicly on where you folks are thinking about. I'm trying to work through this in my head as I'm talking. So if we wanted to have a update board meeting with everybody so the public can hear what we're talking about or what you guys are thinking rather than just getting it all at once. Because my concern is that when you share, like say you give us a plan, right? And we get it Friday before or that Monday. That is a lot to go through in one thing, right? And that'd be a lot for the public to adjust to as well. And I know and understand that legal says that we don't get a say, I suppose. But we should still be accepting input on where the constituents think
Mhm.
that they want to do X, Y, or Z. So even if it's not a special meeting, is there any way we can update online of a statement of where folks are thinking, or is there going to be an issue understanding, right? Like that there are positions that could be bumped, could be cut. It's all fluid, but even just a summary statement of what you folks are looking at so that people in the community can give their opinions about what's going on.
Well, I think we already said you can give your opinions to Tracy and she can take care of that. The problem goes to what David was saying before. Let's say we started out with that we're going to have to get rid of the 15 positions and we found some other ways to save 2, but we've already talked with those people that are in that position. So then all of a sudden we've created this sort of unsettling uncertainty about their position when it ends up not being part of the final plan. And that's the problem with meeting on Monday and talking about 20. Maybe we get the 20 down to 15, maybe we get the 15 down to 12, but we just told 20 people that they're part of that plan. And that's where the whole sweater analogy comes from. So I think it's fine to take feedback and present it. Like I said, we're looking at every possibility, but it is a big number. So
I have a question. So was the intention then on your end, when we come in on March 24th, that you would have already eliminated those positions?
no, so we
Okay.
would have talked to folks and let them know that the board will be voting. That way, if they would like to come to that meeting and they wanted to be part of it, we wanted to give them a heads up coming into that meeting that the board will be voting on the plan, which includes them. And then from there, we'd be having that more, formal discussion after the board votes on the plan. And then we'd be putting the nominations forward at that the first week in April.
Okay, and then,
So that's when it would be sort of official, if you're asking about those positions. So after the board votes on the plan, let's say that we got it down to 10. So there's 10 positions that are going to be, and maybe it's positions and not people. So maybe there's 8 people who we're going to have to be part of that reduction in force. And that would be, those would be the people we'd have those discussions with. The board approves the plan, and then they would just be removed from the nomination list to get contracts in April.
so logistically, I guess I'm just confused. I'm confused if the board has a say, but then if we have to vote on it. So if,
You're voting on the plan itself, not on the individual
Okay.
people on that list.
and if we were to not get a majority vote, what would happen then logistically?
Well, like I said, some of the districts have done it without having the board officially vote on it. It's more letting the board know what the plan is.
Okay.
So I would hope that, that would be, something that would be worked out, and that the majority of the board would vote to approve the plan, and that would be moved forward from there.
So just.
Lorna,
Oh.
Lorna was.
Oh,
one
so
of
I'm
the-
sorry.
Yeah, just a quick question, and I don't know if we'd know by the 24th, but they were looking into a different insurance carrier.
Yeah, that's on the
So that
list.
could
Yeah.
potentially affect things too, right?
Yeah.
Or only for the new contracts?
No, that would be, so if and I think the number Kathleen had shared was like 300,000. And, Tom's point about food service, because of COVID, we had always been running in the red in food service, and COVID ended up putting us in the black. And we had talked about, I didn't know it was up over 300 now, but I knew like 250,000, that we can move that to the general fund. So that's certainly something that, hey, 250,000, that's, 3 positions off of that list. So those are the sorts of things that we really want to dig into.
Sally and then Julia.
So this is just to confirm that the board vote is advisory, not binding.
Julia?
That was basically my question. So even if we all say it's unacceptable to cut anybody because we're basically working with 3% over this current year's budget, you would make a decision on your own, and it doesn't matter what we say.
Well, we have to cut 2 million from the budget. So the 6.95, there wasn't discretionary money in it. There were only a couple of those things that could be considered discretionary, like 100,000 in each of the lines for facilities. The other lines are not discretionary. So those, I know that that's kind of the angle that, 3%, but we had basically required things that were 6.5%. So if we, I'm
Right.
just making up the 0.5% on, the couple 100,000 on those other lines. It was special ed, it was benefits, it was, CBA. So those numbers combined were higher than that. So it's a $2 million cut. So we have to find a way to cut one way or the other. We have to cut $2 million from the budget to stay in those lines.
No, and I understand that, but I think most of us here are asking, when we show up on the 24th, let's just say we all say, this is not okay, and we all say no, or the majority says no, you can do with that as you like, and ultimately it's your decision. So we're just being informed of what you're going to end up doing anyway. Is that
But
what-
like I said, some of the places that have gone through this did not even get a official board vote in any way.
So,
Tom?
Randy, I played with some numbers here, and I would really like to share them. And I know that, but like if I just talk with Tracy, I'm not talking to 9 other people. And
But I will share them with everybody.
yeah, but Tracy, I understand, and I know you will, and I know you'll do a good job with that, but that doesn't mean that they'll understand. Okay, I played with some numbers here, And I'd like to share, I mean, I have this well over $1 million without cutting a person, And then I have questions on other things. I just, I think the process, I just think the process should be very different. I would love the opportunity to share what I'm thinking and the questions that I have, but I just feel like I'm being shut
So-
down right now.
And I'm
Yeah.
sorry you feel that way. But I think that when I can't imagine that the people in the superintendent's office would not also be looking at the same things that you're looking at. In terms of, as Randy said, they already talked about the overages in the extra money in the food program. They've already, talked about Fred's $200,000. And looking at this,
375.
looking at
It's a big
looking at
number.
the
It's a big number.
CIP.
Yeah, it's a big number.
So I think that as I said, I'm totally willing to meet with you, and I will share what you say with the board. I have to believe that we hired people who are knowledgeable and will do the things that you probably have thought of. And when we meet on the 24th, they will let us know. And I don't know. I really and truly believe, Tom, that a lot of the things that you've looked at in the budget, they will also have looked at in the budget.
Okay, so first of all, I have no doubts about Catherine and Randy's ability. Okay, no doubts about their ability. They're very smart, knowledgeable people. I don't doubt that. But I don't know if they thought the same things because I can't have that conversation with them. And I do this for a living too. And I have dug into this and I would at least like the ability to share it with Catherine, with Randy, with you, and the 9 other board members. That's all I'm asking. I don't think that's out of line. I don't think that's inappropriate. I think it's.
I have a question. I've only ever worked with financial companies boards, so I don't know, this may be different here, but is it within the board's legal purview to call a board meeting if they can?
Yes, that's what we're doing on the 24th, is
Well-
to have that meeting.
Yeah, no, I know, but like a working session board meeting? For
If there
next
were a
Monday?
working set, that would be like a non-public meeting, and it was suggested that there's really no reason to go into non-public to have that, if that's what you're saying. Like
Okay.
if you're saying a non-meeting or a work meeting like that.
So
Right.
I don't know what that means.
About non-public,
I know non-public, but could we have a work session in non-public?
there would be a non-meeting, but
non-meeting.
when I asked about that as well, it was suggested that it be, all of the stuff be put out in public if you're going to have those discussions. And it's really just about that plan and not the inner workings of those, of how we get to that final plan.
And I know I'm being difficult and I don't mean to, but I think we need to talk this over as a team.
Well, I think Tracy said that she'd reach out and get some
To me.
more word
To me.
on that. No, I said she'd reach out to legal and get clarification. In fact, if I'm not presenting things, in a proper manner.
Okay. I'm anxious to hear back on this and I'm going to drop it, but I think that we should meet March 17th.
I was actually about to ask if other folks wanted to meet on March 17th, even if it's a non-meeting meeting. But Now, we're in territory that I'm not familiar with. So,
So I can ask when I speak to legal, I can ask.
Yeah.
If that is a possibility.
mhm.
I'm not sure that it is,
Mhm.
but I wrote it down.
Yeah.
And I will certainly ask.
My thought is, even if it's not a directive meeting, I know other boards in surrounding towns do like retreat sessions like this. Because I happen to have friends who serve on other school boards. And even if it's not, a directive, having this open conversation amongst all of us is useful for you folks, but it's also useful for us to go back to our neighbors who are asking us about
Mhm.
this, to know where we are in the process and what we're kind of leaning down towards. So I would keep the 17th open for me. I'd be perfectly happy to drop everything and come to a non-meeting meeting. That's what we want to call it.
I will certainly, that it's on my list of things to ask about.
Thank you.
Yep.
Will you be doing that tomorrow, Tracy?
I will try to do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Um,
Are you
it
in
all
Concord
depends.
tomorrow?
I am in Concord
Okay,
tomorrow.
okay.
It all depends on if Jim is available tomorrow. I mean, I will call him first thing in the morning. I don't have to be to Concord till 9. So,
Thank you.
I'm curious, is it the standard practice of what is happening where essentially we don't have
so
a
this
say?
has never happened before
Like in
to
the
us.
state of New
So
Hampshire,
this
I'm
has,
saying.
but this has never happened to us before. So I can't say if it's standard practice or not, which is why I am going to contact Jim so that I can find out what that standard practice is. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do. I just think from the feel in the room, I
Yep.
just feel like we're really all uncomfortable with
Yep.
essentially in the next 2 weeks, somebody's going to whoever to 15 people to be like, hey, you may not have a job next year, but we won't know till the 24th. Then
Okay.
if we all say no,
May I just add
then
just a couple of points? So I hear Tracy saying that she is going to be looking into this tomorrow and she is going to be giving that information back to the board. I think something that we heard today, that it's very important that we have these conversations in public session. And because these conversations we're going to be talking about people. And I think it's very important. We felt it's important for us to make sure that any person who's possibly being discussed here publicly has the opportunity to know that that is happening before that conversation happens. Just to kind of clarify where some of that is coming from.
and
And just, so one more piece. And Tom, we received your suggestions and I got to be really honest. A lot of them are on our radar. This is really fresh. We're just digging in. Well, I shouldn't say just digging in, because to be quite honest, Randy was digging in at 6 a.m. on Friday morning. We met with the admin today. I would ask that we be given the opportunity to do that work. Because like you said, Tom, we can do this. We have the knowledge of the district. We want to do this work, and that's what we want to bring before the board. So those are just a few points that I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you, Catherine. That was very, very well said. But I will say that I have no plans of talking about specific, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm talking about attrition and not taking away people's jobs. That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Anyone else?
I have a question I
Mhm.
want you to ask, but I'll talk to you after the meeting.
Okay. I will be here. So there is
Sorry,
one,
thing.
oops, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Stacy.
I guess, and maybe someone can comfort this nervousness that I'm having, but my concern right now is that as a board member, I'm going to walk out here tonight and we won't have any further say before people are told that their job might be on the line. And I have such a concern about how that's going to affect the morale. And we're not going to just, it's not we don't have any more discussion before that happens. So I guess that's my concern. And I know there's probably not a solution to that concern right now, but
You're right, I don't think that there is.
yeah, for the record.
There is,
Can I just-
of course, Melissa.
We're having a really great discussion, and I want to remind people that if you do send anything via email, do not make it a discussion, because then, especially if you're sending it to all of us, if somebody sends an email, they should all go to Tracy. Otherwise, that gets very messy with the right to knows. So if we want to keep this public, please make sure that all correspondence goes through Tracy, and she can share with the rest of the board the information. That way it's going out to everybody at the same time, and it's not a back and forth dialogue. It's just really important that we keep that in mind, because this is a topic that's going to weigh heavily on all of us over the next couple of weeks while we process.
And for the rest of the year, not just the next couple of
But
weeks.
I mean, as decisions are being made.
Right. Somebody,
I might just have one more question for Dr. Worm. So are we planning to like at this point like not really like hire anyone new and just kind of like use what we have within the district to kind of move people places? Because I know we're currently down 2 math teachers here at the high school, and like for me, most of the classes that was in this one teacher's that left in her class, we were having to take VLAX courses right now. And I know for me and for a lot of other people, it's just not like the best way of learning. And we're having trouble like learning VLAX because it's just not like I learn with like a teacher in person in the room. So I'm just wondering if we're trying to work on something to kind of fill those positions the best we can, because I really hate for having more students have to go through this kind of VLAX learning, because it's just not the best way to learn, in my opinion. Yeah, so VLAX is just like an online learning organization, I believe. Exactly, Virtual Learning Academy. So they have all sorts of different classes. You can sign up for them, but we were kind of having to be signed up if we want to continue the course for the year. So that's what that is.
Yeah, so even though there may be some, folks leaving, and, if there's there are positions that we still need to hire for. So there's no sort of, hiring freeze, if you will. We're still looking for people to fill some of those type of positions. So if we had, if we have 2 math openings for next year, we're going to be posting for 2 math openings. If we don't have anyone that's in-house that might have a math certification, there's not many of us hanging around with math certifications to, slide in. We have Mr. York in the front and me over here, but I don't know that we can pull that off. So it really depends on the position. So if, there may be, if there was an elementary level position in one building, we're probably going to take someone from somewhere else that may have been one of those that we're, getting rid of, due to, our class numbers, and sliding that person over. But for things like, math or science, those aren't typical certifications. So those would still be posted, and we'd be hiring for those. So that's the confusing thing too, Nick, is that as part of this, if, as some people get, let's say they're part of that RIF and they're leaving, we're still going to have a lot of open positions, which is going to seem odd, but it's going to be depending on the position. But we're certainly trying to do some of that sliding over. So if we're reducing a position in one place, we want to take that position and fill it somewhere else if we can. Again, to minimize, because nobody, I wish the number was 0 of people that we were going to be looking to reduce that position. So
Perfect, thank you.
anyone else? Okay, so something that got left off the agenda, topics for the next board meeting. When I say the next board meeting, I'm meaning the April, what is the date? April 6th, the April 6th board meeting. Is there anybody who has any topics for Jess?
Yeah, I believe I asked in January to hopefully have by April, maybe what it would cost to either start live streaming our committee meetings from the SAU or
Live stream
here.
committee.
But live streaming committees, I think we heard a lot about transparency, and as Catherine said, we do a lot of work in committee, like a lot. So anyway, that's my thought process. I'd just like to make sure that's on the April meeting.
Thank you. Anyone else? Tom?
Yeah, a couple things. I have a lot. I'm just going to give you two.
Uh-huh.
I would like to talk about creating a board goal for this year to improve what we heard at the meeting, openness, transparency, and trust. I think there's some things we can do around that. And I'd also like to talk about having a meeting where potentially we could do some planning for the next school year and talk about teacher contract and budget and academic goals and start thinking about, that FY27 budget and how we want to get there. So I would like to do a little of that planning if we could.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Stacy.
Piggybacking a little bit off of one of Tom's topics was something that brought up at the annual meeting that I think maybe we could do something about. And that was the public that comes to these meetings. It's really just a public input. And there's not really a space right now to allow questions to come to the board in full in session and get an answer. And I understand that sometimes an answer is just not available at that time, but maybe just discussing some type of forum to get a solution to get the public's questions answered as they come up.
So, yes, so this is a school board meeting.
Mhm.
And so it's not you're right, it's not a meeting of the public. So this is not the place for it, but we could find a place. We can think about a place for it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, yep.
Jess, did you want to?
No, you go ahead.
Julia?
Piggybacking off of Stacy, which was piggybacking off of Tom, just a huge piggyback. At the
That's like
meeting-
a pyramid cheerleading.
No. Was when I heard that at the public meeting, a thought came in that we do one twice a year. So it's not just that one time.
Oh, okay. I see
We
what you're
get
saying.
to-
Yep.
I was thinking quarterly.
But even twice
Yeah.
a year.
Okay, thank you. Laura?
Tracy, before COVID, we used to meet like once a year with the selectmen from all the towns.
Uh-huh.
And after we did the budget, before, like in December or November.
Yes, I
I'd like
remember
to
that.
See us maybe go back to doing that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? So next is public comment. Louise?
Thank you. Louise Andrews, Salisbury. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all the new school board members, and I hope wish you good luck. All right, next, the annual meeting. As some of you may or may not know, I walked out last week. The reason I walked out was I was not going to argue with the moderator. Now, the first time somebody did the point, and he come back to me, he had an attitude in his voice. And when he came back a second time, I was not going to argue with him, and I walked out. I am going to go to the ACLU as soon as I can, and if they say I have a case, I'm going to file a complaint. The person before me wasn't even talking about the amendment, and the person after me talked forever, and everything was fine. I'm not happy with that. Number two, Washington Street School. Back in 2023, there was a big concern about the Washington Street School and what it would cost to bring it up to date. In October of 2023, a study had been started with EEI, and we spent $12,500. And at that meeting in October, another $12,500 was spent. We need to know, and I am requesting a copy of that study. And also, it was going to cost, I don't know how many million to update that building. We need to know what's going on with that. Are there plans to bring it up to date? Are we going to sell it? We're going to give it away, or what we're going to do with it? The third thing, the deficit in the school district It happened, it happened. But what's been posted and talked about is not satisfactory. We really don't know what went on that caused that kind of a deficit. I'm not accusing nobody of anything, but we need a detail of what really happened that brought about that $2 million deficit. So at this time, I am asking the school board for a forensic audit. And it's not just me. Many people in the school district are asking for one. And I know there's many kinds of forensic audit and needs to be figured out, but we need details. And I'll tell you, until we get one, this subject is not going to go away. Jen? And Jen has a petition that we're going to give to the school board tonight.
Sorry, I didn't know I was going to read this. So,
Can I have your name, please?
Jen Mercer Loudon.
Thank you.
Dear school board members, we, the undersigned taxpayers and concerned citizens of Merrimack Valley School District, respectfully request a comprehensive forensic audit of the district's 2024-2025 budget and all pertinent financial and accounting records. Transparency and accountability are fundamental to maintaining public trust, and as stakeholders in this community, we believe a forensic audit is necessary to ensure that taxpayer funds are being managed responsibly and efficiently. Recent concerns regarding the $2 million shortfall have led to growing apprehension among residents regarding the allocation and use of district funds. A forensic audit conducted by an independent third party will help to clarify any inconsistencies, identify potential inefficiencies, and restore confidence in the district's financial stewardship. Our request is based on the following concerns. 1, transparency and accountability. A forensic audit would provide a clear, detailed review of expenditures, ensuring that funds are being allocated appropriately. Number 2, financial responsibility. With rising costs and budgetary constraints, taxpayers deserve assurance that resources are used effectively to support students and staff. Number 3, public trust. A thorough review will reinforce trust between the district and the community, demonstrating a commitment to ethical financial management. We urge the school board to act in the best interest of the students, educators, and taxpayers by approving independent forensic audit. We believe that fiscal responsibility and transparency should be top priorities in ensuring the district operates with integrity and efficiency. Please accept this position, signed by concerned citizens of Merrimack Valley School District, as a formal request for immediate action. We look forward to a response and are eager to work collaboratively to promote financial accountability within our school system.
Thank you. Thank you, Fred. Good. Anybody else? Okay.
So I don't do well off the cuff, but I had some questions. So as things are being discussed, can you define the psych services? Because I'm confused where the paras normally go. Because when I saw that number on the overages, I thought it was high, and I didn't realize that that's where the paras went. Do they normally go there?
So this is a time for public comment, not questions. But I think that what Randy said was that those are the paraprofessionals that were contracted out.
Okay, but so then the normal paras are in a different line item. The ones that we hire are in salaries. Is that what it?
So yes, they are. But
Okay.
I'm not going to continue to have a conversation with you. This is time for you
Okay.
to
Okay.
public comment.
All right. So then I just want to say I agree with Tom and the others on the board that this is concerning, that the school's budget is being taken over by the SAU, and they have no real say in what happens with it after that. It's concerning. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Jeff Leonard, Loudon. I guess I'm kind of concerned because I think we all thought the school board had a lot more say in where the money goes into the district. And from what I'm hearing, it's all up to the superintendent and the assistant superintendent. Thanks, Tom, for bringing up all the concerns. I run a business myself, and you got to pinch pennies sometimes. And you've already made a freeze of $1 million into last year's budget or this year's budget. So you're already telling us that there's already $1 million worth of fluff in there if you're going to take $1 million and spend it on the deficit. So you're actually working with another $4 million. So I don't understand where a true leader, Mr. Wormald, you should be up there saying, I am going to try my damnedest that there is not going to be any cuts or any positions cut unless people cut from anything. That's what we should be hearing. But we are not. You're saying, oh, there may be 15 to 20 positions cut. We don't want to hear that. You have money to work with. Tom's already done it in 3 days. He's done research and he's got suggestions, but it all has to go through a third party. That isn't how things should work. You guys should have a meeting, and every school board meeting next April 6th, half an hour before the school board starts, you guys should come here and have us dialogue back and forth so we can get some questions answered, because there's no way to get questions answered. People email, never return emails. So that would, I think, would be a good suggestion if you open up the meeting, even 15 minutes, just so some people could get a dialogue back and forth. I don't think questions are too hard to answer.
Thank you, Jeff.
Therese Master-Ash, Loudon, New Hampshire. I was in finance. I was there during 9/11. I had to work for Providian, Washington Mutual, and lay people off. It is not a good time. But I will tell you, as a leader, I got in front of my team and I said, you know what? Positions don't equal people. And I'm going to do everything I can to see that I can't move this person from this department that might be top heavy with personnel over to this area where we lack personnel. And I'm going to make sure at the end of the day, I do my darndest for everyone to have a position. To be talking to people, to be sending emails to employees, to be putting into the paper that you're going to lose 30 positions. When we have done the work, we have looked at the numbers, and we have seen that there is no reason why this school district should have to lose a single employee. And for you to do that in a silo without all of this group's input and collaboration shows more of the concern that we have had as taxpayers for our children in this school district. And you think it's just $12 now a month? Wait until these taxpayers that showed up are going to only grow. We have only scratched the surface of people who understand where their property taxes are going. Next year, it will be double the size. And it won't be last year's budget plus 3%. It will be half the budget. We need transparency. We need to know exactly where the dollars are going if you want our support. And for you to scare and retaliate that we're just going to slash positions, don't you ever dare touch our budget, that's not going to bode well in the end for you. We need to work together. We work hard for our money. We want our children educated. We want our schools healthy. But if all we have is a bucket of $880,000 for psych services with no explanation, that does not work for us.
Thank you, Therese. Anybody else?
Bill Hines, Bosquen. Randy, would you share your numbers with me? It's a genuine question in that, yes.
Yeah, we can.
Thank you. As you probably know, it sounds like you know, I've shared this with some people. It's a significant different number that I've got, and I'd really like.
That was the average of the 5 times, but I'll send you the spreadsheet.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I know it's a little irregular for board members to do public comment, but I took the weekend to reflect over annual meeting. And Tom got a little bit ahead of me as he was talking about transparency and openness. And so I've come up with my own set of goals as a board member. And I'm hoping that all my other peers here set just one goal for the year. My goal, which, is actually, I'm going to be starting up a newsletter. I'm going to stand up my website tonight or tomorrow where folks can submit their emails and I will send out monthly newsletters so folks know what we're doing here who aren't in district, because if you don't have a kid in district, it's hard to get this information, right? Even if they can go to the high school, sign up. That's another step. So I would hope other board members could think of a goal for themselves and us together. Lastly, I want to say that I understand, and I know that this is probably going to be very, very difficult for our SAU for the next few weeks, that the changes I've seen in this district since we've had some folks move up into position with, our teachers and other folks who work here has been incredibly beneficial and happier, I think. And I know that you folks are not threatening to cut teachers because it's retaliatory. This is the hand that you're dealt, and you have to play with that, with what you have. So that's, and I know, and I trust that you're working through everything you can to make sure we keep as many people as we can. So thank you.
Thank you, Jess. Anybody else for public comment? Okay. We do not have any reason to go into non-public. So we don't have to return to non-public or have any action from non-public. So last thing on the agenda. Thank you. Thank you. So Julia and Sally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the school board. Congratulations. I'm pleased to see you.